Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. Wes Moore was telling me I want to walk with the president. Well, I said, I want to walk with you too someday, but first you got to clean up your crime, because I'm not walking in Baltimore right now. Baltimore is a hellhole. And this guy, I don't even think he knows it.
President Trump this week challenging Maryland Governor Wes Moore and renewing his threat to send the National Guard into Baltimore as he considers expanding his Washington, D.C. crackdown to other major cities, including Chicago and New York. Baltimore, like most cities across the country, has seen a drop in crime and homicides in recent years, but still remains one of America's most violent cities. So we traveled there this week and walked the streets with Governor Moore and asked him how Democrats are tackling crime while taking on the president. Violent crime has clearly declined in the city, and yet Baltimore has the 5th highest rate in violent crime, 4th highest murder rate per capita in cities over 100,000.
This was one of the big reasons why I ran for governor in the first place. Because the year before I was elected in 2022, Baltimore was averaging almost a homicide a day. And you're absolutely right. I mean, while we still very much have work to do, it's very encouraging the fact that Maryland has had amongst the fastest drops in violent crime anywhere in the United States over the past 2.5 years. It would just be great if we could have the President of the United States to actually understand that this is one of the great American turnaround stories that's happening right now, and we would love the help to be able to continue to do that work instead of this arrogant criticism and cynicism that he continues to introduce into the conversation.
But you have to admit, Governor, that there are people out there who don't feel safe. And you can tout what you have done, but that is a real problem to people.
Yeah, I know. My heart breaks for anybody who is coming up in our community and doesn't feel safe in their own neighborhood, because I know what that feels like. I would love more federal support, but federal support on things that actually make sense and not things that are performative.
And you're talking about the National Guard, and you're saying that's performative.
Oh, the National Guard is completely performative because the National Guard is not even trained for it. In fact,
the National Guard does law enforcement training. They do training for disasters. They do training for national emergencies.
Correct. And as the Commander-in-Chief of the Maryland National Guard, I am not just deeply respectful, but very cognizant of the skill sets that our National Guards bring. And the National Guard is not trained for municipal policing. You know who is trained for municipal policing? Things like local law enforcement and things like FBI agents and ATF agents who, by the way, in the president's proposed budgets, actually cut funding for them.
And yet one of the things that they're trying to do in D.C. with the National Guard is have them back up local law enforcement.
They're picking up trash.
They are definitely picking up trash in certain places, but if you look at the crime, and you've heard Mayor Bowser say 87% reduction in carjackings, robberies, cut by half. Why wouldn't you want that here if that is actually helping?
If the President of the United States were to have a serious conversation with me and say, what can we do, particularly when you look at the cost of the National Guard of well over $1 million a day, what could we actually do? Do you know what I would tell him? I would tell him things like, we need to make sure we're increasing funding for local law enforcement, and we have to invest in our community groups and community organizations. Like that's a serious approach, how to address this issue, but asking me to deploy my National Guard, people who are not trained for municipal policing, is just not a serious approach.
But I want to go back to Mayor Bowser again. She said it has been successful. Why would you say, wait, I want you to ask me this way instead of that way? Why fight with the president instead of having that chance if that is an opportunity that can improve crime?
Well, no, and I have no interest in fighting with the president. But I have an interest in fighting for my communities and fighting for our people. And I respect Mayor Bowser, and I'm glad that the trend that she has seen over these past few weeks has continued the downward trend that DC has seen over the past year. That's wonderful. The idea of introducing the National Guard into every major American city, it is not sustainable, particularly when you're looking at the cost.
Let's talk about President Trump. Your criticism, jokingly sometimes, has really been sharper in the last few weeks. You've called him President Bone Spurs. Obviously, that is talking about his lack of service.
Well, I mean, listen, When the president wants to attack my military record, as someone who's actually a decorated combat veteran, as someone who actually has served overseas, as someone who has defended the country, I just think that if the president wants to have a real debate about public service and about a sacrifice for this country, he should really sit that debate out. I'm not the one he wants to have it with.
But is this the way that Democrats are going to approach Donald Trump in the future? Is that an efficient and effective strategy for the Democrats? In 2024, there was a lot of criticism of the Democrats. Hey, you're just telling me what you think is wrong with Donald Trump instead of telling me what you can do to change things. The economy, crime, immigration.
One thing I do believe is that the Democrats don't have a messaging problem. There's a results problem. The Democrats have to deliver results and stop being the party of no and slow and start being the party of yes and now. Because the frustration that people have, it is real. It is real when people are saying that, you know what, I feel like my life situation has not changed. And so people are looking at all these things and saying, I'm done with all of you. And so that's why I think we have to move with the kind of aggression that is necessary.
I want to go back to your service. You served in Afghanistan. You know the president has brought up you claiming you had a Bronze Star in 2006 when you were applying for a job. Why did you do that?
Well, I think I'm deeply proud of my service to this country. And I know my soldiers that I serve with are deeply proud. And the veteran community is as well. And I think it's pretty common knowledge or common belief that when your commanding officers and your superior officers tell you, listen, we've put you in and we've gone through everything, so as you're going through your application, include it. I included it, and I didn't think about it.
But in 2008 on PBS, they said they introduced you, Gwen Ifill, saying you had earned a Bronze Star medal. That's 2008. 2010, you were on the Colbert Show. When he said you had a Bronze Star, you did not correct him. You had to know you did not have one then. Well,
it was, I did not go back and tell the Pentagon, hey, I was told to put this on my application, and didn't. And honestly, at that point,
I'm not talking about the Pentagon. I'm talking about you knew in those interviews you did not have one.
No, because even at the time of those interviews, it wasn't something that I even thought about. When I came home, it wasn't something that I even thought about. I didn't think about the fact that, hey, I wonder if my paperwork processed out. Now, I'm thankful that the military, after they found out that the paperwork was lost and didn't process, that they came back and awarded me the Bronze Star. So yes, I do have.
2024.
So I do have a Bronze Star that I earned in Afghanistan and a combat action badge that I earned in Afghanistan. So I'm proud of that, but that's not why I served.
But do you regret not correcting when you were introduced that way?
I mean, I don't regret not going back and consistently looking over my service records. I don't. I'm thankful for the service I did. I'm grateful for the fact that I had the opportunity to lead soldiers in combat, what a small fraction of this people of this country will ever understand.
And just last, and some final thoughts, if you will. You are clearly seen by the Democrats as a rising star. I know you've said you're not running for president now. That's not on your mind, but you haven't ruled it out in the future. So how do you think Democrats should approach Donald Trump differently than they did in 2024?
I mean, I don't think this is about how do you approach Donald Trump. I think it's about how do you approach 2025 right now. I mean, we're looking in the state of Maryland where Donald Trump has fired over 12,000 federal employees who are Marylanders. Donald Trump has now cut $250 million from rural hospitals in Maryland. And so I don't think that this is about how do you politically contrast Donald Trump. You've got to focus on protecting your people right now and the issues that the people in our states are facing, and that's where I know my focus is.
Our thanks to Governor Moore.